My name is Tracy Russell, and I'm very honored to sit along this panel of really wonderful people I met at lunch today. Yeah, this is all really off the cuff, but it's all very valuable information. I manage the first group home for Mi'kmaq people with disabilities in Waycobah First Nation, which is halfway between Port Hawkesbury and Bedeque in Cape Breton. It's actually the first of its kind across the country that is for Mi'kmaq people with disabilities, completely staffed by First Nations people in a First Nation community. There's like a lot of different obstacles we've jumped over. Like, I've only been with the organization since 2007. The Grand Chief is Rosie's uncle, but him and his sisters, and actually Tom Gunn, he's the principal at the Strait Area campus in Port Hawkesbury, who started L'Arche, him and his wife started L'Arche Cape Breton. When L'Arche Cape Breton came about, they thought it'd be wonderful to have our organization begin. It's called the Mawidamk Society, and Mawidamk means being together in the Mi'kmaq language. The same, like L'Arche began in the early 80s, so our organization tried to begin in the early 80s as well, but there was a lot of obstacles that our board had to jump over to get it going. It took from 83 until 2001 that they finally won rights to our project. And it was, the way the Grand Chief sat and told me the story is it was in the 11th hour. They didn't want to face the Human Rights Commission in court saying that we were unable to take care of our own people who were in need of support. So instead of going to the court and battling that all out, they said, hey, have it, make it happen. So in 2001, they won rights to the project. Then it took until 2006 that the construction began, because we had to figure out where all the monies was coming from. And it wasn't until 2007 that we were able to open our doors. So right now we've been 5 years. We're 5 years operational. It was a tough go-ahead to get us started, because within a First Nation community, there's not like a whole bunch of jobs. Whether you want to do accounting work at the band office, or work at the double-up buildings, or they pump gas, or work with different things at the school, or just regular things, I guess. When they wanted to get our business up and going, there was nobody that was trained, no Mi'kmaq people that were trained to work with people with disabilities. So we teamed up with NSCC, and NSCC developed a customized training program, and they brought this customized training program to our community of Waycobah First Nation that started all of us. It was on our way to get our Human Services diploma so we could actually work in this field. It was 15 students could have jumped in the program, 11 did, and out of the 11 of us that did, all of us were employed with Mawidamk. Yeah. It was job creation, and took people off of welfare and put people in the workforce, and all kinds of great things that happened. I actually began as a casual in 2007. I wasn't part of the full-time employees that were hired on. I started as a casual, and I got into part-time work, got into full-time work, got part of an advisory committee to a leadership team on to managing the place by March of 2008. Yeah. So, but all the time that I kind of worked towards this, I was doing my online courses and working towards getting my Human Services diploma with a concentration in residential and vocational studies. And so the customized training program helped. NSCC was great because I did the online studies, I did part-time studies, I did learning contracts, I did recognize and prior learning where I could challenge out credits because I had the work experience. So it really helped me get me on my way. And because right now, like, I've still not got my degree yet, but I was able to transfer. It was an articulated program. I could transfer my credits to the university. Now I got 2 years to finish, and I get my degree, which is 6 credits away, which is great as well. Yeah. But right now our home is we're really new. Like we have a group home that can house up to 5 individuals, and we have a support apartment complex that can house up to 5 individuals as well. We haven't been at max capacity since we opened, and I think part of that reason is just because I think in my opinion, it's part of the residential schools that kind of affected our communities. There's really a disbelief in institutional care, and we're trying to break down those barriers and show people like our home is an open door policy. People can come, they can leave, government can come, we have nothing to hide, anyone can come. You want to join us for tea? You want to join us for breakfast, supper? Join us. You want to come with us bowling? Come. You want to come play pool? Whatever. We try to keep it as a very inclusive environment, and there's like no transparency? But there's no, what you see is what you get, and all of our staff are great character, and everyone we support are as well. There was misconceptions when we first opened that people thought because we opened in Waycobah First Nation that we were only for Waycobah clientele, but we weren't. We're for the whole Mi'kmaq Nation at large. I know when we first opened, we had inquiries out of province, New Brunswick and PEI, and guess what? We hit another wall. They said, guess what? Because they're not Nova Scotian Mi'kmaq, they can't reside in your home.
Oh, good night.
Yeah. So then we took it, the Grand Chief and I took it to the Social Tripartite Committee, and we fought that battle, and we won the rights, but at the end of it, they didn't want to come, but that's fine. But at least we broke down that barrier, and I feel like there's constant barriers. Like I've had somebody that lived within our home, that lived in our home since we opened. And they married non-native, and we had to let them go because where our funding is federally funded, but we're provincially licensed. When she married non-native, I couldn't get him under federal funding, so they had to move outside of their support care, which I really don't think is fair. And it's something that we had meetings, like we met with the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, we had the federal government, we had the provincial government, we had us all underneath one room trying to battle this out, and it's finally coming together. Like they got married, I was the matron of honor, like it was all like on our yard, which was great. Yes? It was within just the government channels. Like we set up a meeting with Department of Community Services and contacted like Premier Gerald Dexter, because he's the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs as well. And we had a bunch of people all in one room, because whenever we talk to the federal government, they like to blame the provincial. Whenever we talk to the provincial government, they like to blame the federal, and then you never get anything kind of settled. So so we put us all in one room. And right now, this individual that had to move, like they had a hard time because they moved somewhere where they didn't get the supports. They lost their home. They were living out of their car. They got in a car accident. Like it was really bad. And then they were living in a seniors complex. They're not like shouldn't be in a seniors complex. Like it was just a really poor quality of life that they were given. And right now we're kind of getting through those channels that they can almost move back in, which is great. Yeah, we're almost there because I can get funding for her, but I can't get funding from him. And yeah, so I'm kind of stuck, but I'm just trying to make ends meet with them. Yeah, and then I had let's see, they got married June of last year. Yeah.
And it's sad when you think about when somebody gets married. Supposed to be a joyful time, and not to have all these different barriers.
Yeah. And like I've even had somebody else that moved that wanted to seek supports in our organization, but because they didn't live within a First Nation, they were First Nations, they had their status and everything, but because they didn't live in a First Nation environment for a year, they lived within the province. They weren't on First Nations ground. They weren't allowed to reside within our home unless they lived in a First Nation community for a year. And it was, so I worked with the bands to get them to, they made a space for this individual, they moved into the First Nation community, and now they've since been in contact with me and said, okay, I've lived in this community for like 14 months, can I possibly seek support in your home now? And it's really heartbreaking, like all the different hoops and barriers that we have to jump over, because I feel like once we get our ducks in a row, we go to the government and something else happens. And it's not fair, but we're just plugging along, and I'm just trying to make it work. But we do like a lot of things, like we, I don't know, we have a couple of people that I've got into NSCC and helped them with, one person's going after, 2 people are going after their grade 12. I had somebody that finished their cosmetology and they graduated this year. I've had people kind of work within the community. They go to the school and they sing to the younger classes or read books or to the younger grades, or like we take part in our community festivals or our powwows. We get everyone into their medical appointments, because when they were living on their own, they're really like couch surfers. Like nobody really understood them. They just kind of went coach to coach, and they rarely ate. They just didn't know what they were going through. But we're a home for people 18 and older, and then there's like that lost bracket, 16 to 18, that they're too old to be a youth, but they're too young to be an adult, and you get those phone calls too. I get a lot of parents that call me, and the parents are desperate to find respite care for their kids or for their adult children. But then after they come to me, I have to send them off to the government, and then usually trust is then lost, and they don't want to follow up with the government. But I can't do assessments or anything like that. I just manage the home and get everybody kind of involved. Yeah. But we try to look at everything like in a holistic approach. We look at their, our goal settings are different. We do like our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual goal settings. Everyone, I don't know, they go to church regularly if that's what they choose. They don't have to. We take them on medicine pickings, sweetgrass picking. We do have people come in and teach them crafts. We can go canoeing around the island. We do Special Olympics. Yeah, and have our traditional foods. Right now we have a basket making workshop going on, and we had my Mi'kmaq's not strong, but a Nusnigan workshop, which is like a fried bread. We did what else did we do? A moose stew workshop. Sometimes the community will take our individuals out hunting with them, and they'll just join them just to be manly, or go salmon fishing. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just graduated from work back in June, and I know that the human services courses out there are very awesome, and they're always professors and college students and sort of thing. In your society, is this something that you look forward to future students?
Yeah. I've actually had LPNs come into my organization. I've had we're really close with the Strait Area campus. I hosted a Mi'kmaq Awareness Day for faculty. I've had human services students come in and do their placements with us. I've even gone into the campus and talked to, I'm pretty comfortable at that campus, so I go in and talk to the students, because I'm a graduate from that school. Yeah, not from Waterfront, from Strait Area campus in Port Hawkesbury. Yeah, I graduated in 2009. Yeah, so.
Just because I think the ones that I had
Thank you. The students that have came up, they've all really enjoyed their time with us, which is great. But I find a lot of their work, like when we talk about our work, like it's kind of a funny feeling, because it's not like work. It's like just being with family, like outside of. That's what it feels like. It just feels like you're with. Everyone starts growing on you, like uncles and aunts, and like even one gentleman, he was out of the community for. He was out of the community for 10, 15 years, and he came back to L'Arche, and he comes on a day program with us. He never lost his language the whole time he was gone. But when he was sitting there at the table and having tea and meeting up with old friends, his Mi'kmaq is more fluid than his English. It's not broken, and it's the old Mi'kmaq, and it's really heartwarming just to see. And I know my time's kind of running to an end, but in our culture, I find an inclusive world isn't something that we work towards. It's just something that we do. Mm-hmm. And I think within our community, like people just, there's a gentleman that can go into any house and have tea, breakfast, lunch, supper. Like he doesn't miss a wake or a birthday or anything. Like he's just welcome. And our community is really, not all First Nation communities like that, but within ours specifically, I can really kind of put it on a pedestal and say inclusive environment is just a part of life for us. And that's what I kind of strive for, just trying to get other people to see that too. Yeah, but I thank you for this opportunity, and if there's anything else I can say, I'm welcome to answer whatever. Thank